In her dreams, Darcy found herself in a room of mirrors. It came with a familiarity. She'd been there before, many times, as though this place found her, emerging from the farthest reaches of her memory. She'd twist and turn, falling deeper and deeper into herself. In the waking hours, Darcy tried to draw this place, seeing it as a visualization of her subconscious, or even her own personal hell. But even Darcy, who saw this place and felt this place, whose artistic skills extended far beyond mediocre, could capture it. It was blurry and disturbing and confusing. Yet to Darcy, it was everything. This is Mirrors, a collection of horrors, history, and hauntings. My name is Gabby, and I'm bringing you along with me to some of the many haunted locations around Pennsylvania. Today's episode is delving into the Grey Towers Castle at Arcadia University. Arcadia's history traces back to 1853, when two young women named Cynthia Jones and Juliet A. Poundstone, along with their high school principal, Dr. Sheridan Baker, founded the Beaver Female Seminary. At the time, Beaver was one of few schools geared toward educating young women. After attaining collegiate status, it was renamed the Beaver College and Music Institute, before becoming simply Beaver College in 1907. As the school expanded, it was eventually moved to a nearby estate in Glenside, where it is currently located. That estate includes the Grey Towers Castle. In 2001, Beaver was officially renamed Arcadia University. Colleges and universities just so happen to be the center of many hauntings. Maybe it's because most campuses have old, historic buildings, or because there are so many different people living and working there each year, between students, faculty, and visitors, so these places are under constant observation. These varying perspectives make it even more convincing when similar encounters are experienced at different times, especially considering the people that experience them never had any communication with each other. And Pennsylvania certainly has far too many ghost stories for its own good, which makes it no surprise that it has a lot of haunted colleges. There's Gettysburg College, Moravian, even my alma mater, Temple University, all of which have reported unexplained encounters. However, I was most drawn to the unsettling tales of Arcadia. When it was still Beaver College, it's where my mom went to get her teaching degree. In learning about my own connection and my family's connection to the paranormal, I've begun looking into the spaces where all of this originated for us. I'd heard many stories of my mom's college years, most of them centering around the paranormal occurrences on campus. During her senior year, she actually lived in the Grey Towers Castle. Her roommate was studying abroad for a semester, leaving my mom in the room by herself. During this time, she took care of her roommate's hamster, and one night, inexplicably, she was startled awake to find the hamster sitting in the middle of her chest, looking down at her. I seriously wish I could have seen the look on her face when that happened. The hamster had never gotten out before, and its cage was on the other side of the room, still locked. When developing Mirrors, I reached out to Arcadia on a whim to see if I could get access to the Grey Towers Castle. I'm very excited to say that is where we are heading today.
Okay, there's like some storm clouds rolling in right now, and it just looks super eerie just behind the castle. Like the rest of it is like blue skies and a little too happy for my taste, but...
There are a few different theories as to why Arcadia's campus is so haunted. The original castle, Rosedale Hall, was destroyed in a fire. Hines Hall, one of the student dorms, was constructed on top of an old cemetery. The bodies exhumed and relocated from their original resting place. In the castle, a young girl reportedly tripped running down the staircase, her scarf getting caught in the banister and hanging her. At the on-campus power station, an engineer was killed when an overheated boiler exploded, the grate hitting him in the chest and showering him in hot ash. Many have encountered playful trickster spirits on campus, most notably a little boy known as Max in Hines Hall. Max has been accused of moving furniture, turning on showers, and get ready for it, taking pictures of people as they are sleeping. Literally, students have woken up to find pictures of themselves sleeping on their phones. Some have even claimed this happened when their phones were dead. But we cannot talk about the hauntings of Arcadia University without talking about one family, the Harrison family, who lived in the castle. William Welsh Harrison grew up in Philadelphia and attended school at the Germantown Academy and the University of Pennsylvania. After graduating, the majority of his career was dedicated to the Franklin Sugar Refinery, where his primary role was the sugar manufacturer. Much like his father, George Harrison, William was well known in the city of Philadelphia for his work ethic and extraordinary management skills. In 1892, the refinery was sold to the American Sugar Refining Company for $10 million. William was a member of the Historical Society of Pennsylvania, as well as the Academy of Fine Arts. He belonged to a variety of clubs and was well connected with other established names in Philadelphia, making him a staple of the community. And in 1881, at just 31 years old, he purchased Rosedale Hall in Glenside. After acquiring neighboring properties, Mr. Harrison hired a 23-year-old architect named Horace Trumbauer for renovations of the home. While Horace would eventually become a well-known name for designing famous buildings such as the Philadelphia Museum of Art, he was fairly insignificant in the architecture space at the time. His first big job was to build homes as a part of a development project for Anthony J. Drexel. It's believed that Drexel saw Horace for his talent rather than his lack of wealth and connections. So when Anthony Drexel's friend, William Welsh Harrison, needed an architect to work on his home, he passed on Horace's name. Horace Trumbauer worked tirelessly, expanding Rosedale Hall while preserving its authentic style. He also designed stables, a carriage house, the power plant where that engineer was later killed, and a gatehouse. The Harrisons were very pleased with Horace's work and the improvements made to their home. However, just 2 years later, the castle burned down. The family was able to escape to the stables, huddling together for warmth in the 2-degree weather, watching Rosedale crumble before them. It was clearly a devastating loss for the Harrisons. William called upon Horace again, tasking him with the construction of a new, better castle. Horace drew inspiration from Alnwick Castle, the residence of the Duke of Northumberland in England. French styles dating from the Renaissance to the age of Louis XV were employed for the interior. Horace Trumbauer poured his heart and soul into what would be named the Grey Towers Castle. At its completion, it was the 3rd largest house in the country. Mr. Harrison is quoted saying, "The name Grey Towers Castle seemed more appropriate than Rosedale Hall." The exterior of Grey Towers Castle paints a romantic image, with medieval turrets and dramatic stone archways drawing visitors to the entrance. Walking up to the castle, you'll find yourself under the watchful eye of over 50 gargoyles, each carved with intricate details and their own personalities. 2 heavy sets of wooden doors open to the grand hall. Your attention will immediately fall to the red carpeted staircase, framed by large golden lamps. The space is gorgeous, and its beauty leans into the sense that there is mystery beneath it all. There is much speculation that the Harrisons' life was one of secrecy. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison lived in separate wings of the castle, and they were said to have an unhappy marriage because of Mr. Harrison's infidelity. There are even secret passageways on campus, which Mr. Harrison used to sneak his mistresses into his quarters.
I love all the doors that are probably just like a storage closet, but I still like to think that it's like some secret passageway.
Because they're so ornate.
Yeah.
Acting almost as a reflection of the gilded age they were living in, the Harrisons' life of grandeur and perfection was deeply flawed beneath the surface. However, the castle still stands as a reminder of their family's legacy. Walking through the Grand Hall, I was honestly at a loss for words just because of how beautiful it is and how you can truly sense how much intention was put into it.
This is kind of counterintuitive for a podcast, but I think there's sometimes in these places I don't know what to say because you just have to experience it and just absorb what you're feeling. Just to help you all visualize where we are right now, we're standing on the second floor looking out over the staircase, and there's balconies surrounding us going up to the top floor with these huge dramatic archways, beautiful chandeliers, candles. I don't really feel anything paranormal, but maybe that just kind of speaks to the fact that it was someone's home. Just kind of, another relaxing summer day.
In 1927, Mr. Harrison died of a heart attack in the castle. After his passing, Mrs. Harrison sold the estate to Beaver College. Many believe, though, that the family never left, and they continue to make themselves known to the thousands of people who have passed through the castle over the years. It's likely that the Harrisons feel possessive over the space, or at least spiritually connected to it. Not only did they live in it, but so much thought and intention went into each feature of the space, and it was designed for their family. Students on the third floor have reported hearing the creaking of Mrs. Harrison's rocking chair. Mr. Harrison has been heard on the property as well, pounding his cane on the floor, demanding the maids to bring him more whiskey. The couple has also been seen on campus in one of the mirrors in the mirror room. The room is now named the Laura Minerva Corman Mirror Room, dedicated to an alumni who had a strong love for the space and even got married there in 1994. The decor of the room was designed in France and shipped to Pennsylvania, along with workers to install everything. The room itself is designed with Renaissance-style artwork and gilded patterns, transporting those who stand within it to another time. The ceiling features a painting, symbolizing the four seasons through images of women floating against a sky depicting the zodiac. This painting tells a story about the universe, a story of time and fate. The main mirror just might be able to determine fate as well. Couples who stand before the mirror have seen one of two things: their own reflection, which is to be expected, or they've been met with the reflection of the Harrisons. It's rumored that if you see Mr. and Mrs. Harrison instead of yourself, you're destined to end up with the person you're with. And then there's the tale of the star-crossed lovers. A young aristocrat named Abigail, whose family was a close friend of the Harrisons, was a frequent visitor of Grey Towers Castle. During her time there, she fell in love with a stable boy named Toby. She wished to marry him, but her parents forbid her from doing so, telling her that she had to marry within her class.
The balconies are reminding me of Romeo and Juliet, which is appropriate for the supposed star-crossed lover haunting here, which we are looking for the bridge right now.
One night, Abigail devised a plan. She'd meet Toby at the small bridge below the castle. From there, they'd run away and elope, starting a new life, free from the restraints of Abigail's family and status. Her parents found out about this plan and locked her in her room. Toby stood waiting, alone, on the bridge below. Heartbroken for her love that could never be, Abigail jumped to her death from the castle. The story goes that her parents, along with the Harrisons, were eating breakfast on the terrace in the morning. Just as they began to wonder where Abigail was, they noticed blood running down the walls. They looked up to discover that Abigail had jumped, impaling herself on the atrium. 2 streetlights sit at the end of the bridge. At night, they've been seen flickering back and forth, as though they are in contact with each other. Many perceive this as communication between Abigail and Toby, still trying to meet each other at the bridge in the afterlife. I brought my friend Renee with me to Arcadia, solely because she's my friend and I wanted her company during my recording session. She doesn't necessarily share my obsession with the paranormal, which made it all the more interesting when she experienced something quite strange on the bridge. We stumbled across the bridge when walking the campus. There were a few student tours going on, as well as many cars passing on the nearby highway. However, when we stepped onto the bridge, all sound seemed to fade away. It felt suddenly like we were hyper-focused on our immediate location, unaware of anything or anyone else. This happens during every paranormal encounter I've had, where you suddenly are so deeply immersed in the moment, and you're not really aware of it until afterwards. While on the bridge, I wanted to do some investigating to see if I could make contact with Abigail or Toby or any of the other spirits present. I started out by introducing myself and stating my intentions.
My name is Gabby. This is Renee. We're just here because we'd like to get to know more about you and your story. I'd like you to know that you're at peace and you can be together now. That'd be crazy if those lights flashed right now.
I know.
I decided to get out my dowsing rods, which I hadn't used in a while. Just to give you some quick background, dowsing rods, or divining rods, are L-shaped metal rods. Historically, they've been used to locate water or minerals. Paranormal researchers have adopted them as a form of spirit communication, believing they can offer insight and answer questions. For example, you might ask the spirit to cross for yes and open for no, and then ask a question like, "Is anyone here?" It's believed that human intuition can cause subconscious, slight hand movements that move the rods. This is also the explanation offered for Ouija boards. It's been a point of contention against these tools because some think that human influence debunks any real paranormal evidence. I personally like to have an open mind in regards to spirit communication, and I've had some experiences with these rods that were just wild. So I held them out and tried talking with Abigail and Toby, or any other spirit who may be on the bridge. There was slight movement, although it was hard to tell if that was just because I had so much coffee that day that I couldn't stay still to save my life. Just as I started to reset my hands, I noticed the look on Renee's face. She was totally pale. She told me what she was feeling.
It's interesting being here with people that have never, or like going to haunted places with people that have never done that before.
I actually feel even dizzy.
Really? Well, let's head out.
No.
No. If you feel dizzy, we should
It's
leave.
very weird. Very strange feeling.
I slightly feel it. It's just heavier right here.
And I've never experienced anything like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's very I feel like we're in a totally different place. We're not at the school anymore.
No, it feels so different.
When investigating the paranormal, there's moments like this. You become overtaken by a feeling that is so foreign and unexpected that you have to wonder if it's your emotions at all. Seeing the shift that Renee felt when stepping off of the bridge, it was clear that the energy was just different there. Like we were temporarily taken to a different time.
No, it literally, even the climate feels different stepping off of the
Outside
bridge.
it. Gabby, I felt like a shift, like I wasn't in the same place.
Interesting.
almost like being transported somewhere different, if that
Wow.
makes sense.
And I didn't like really feel anything until you said it, so maybe it was my brain messing with me, or maybe it was like being close to you, like brought me in as well. I don't know.
Interesting. Like, but you felt the change in climate.
My legs got heavy. Like it was like I was being pulled.
I felt like I couldn't move almost.
Yeah.
Very interesting, to say the least. Like, and I felt like heart palpitations, not panic though. It wasn't like I was in a panic state.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is so strange. Like, so different from anything.
Yeah. Wow.
Renee wasn't scared in any way, and she'd felt fine all day. She felt fine after stepping off the bridge. Even standing there in the middle of the day, everything suddenly felt heavier. I have to wonder if Abigail's sadness has facilitated that heaviness and angst. I truly hope that she and Toby have found peace together in the afterlife. Thank you for listening, and thank you to Arcadia University for allowing me to visit. Again, I'm your host, Gabby. I'll be back next Tuesday with another haunted location. Until then, stay spooky. This has been Mirrors, Horrors, History, and Hauntings, produced and hosted by Gabby Frye.